Hello, everyone. My name is Mark. Sorry, I'm trying to click off all of these weird things that got popped up on my my computer all last second. It's so very good to see you. My name is Mark Dolfini, and you are here in the strategic business growth multiplier. And so it's really good to see you this afternoon. As we get started here, go ahead, let me know where you're from and what line of work that you're in. I've already got a couple of people already saying hello, so it's very good to see you. Let's see. Logu, I apologize if that's Yogu. Oh, Yogu, okay. From Destiny from Nigeria. Oh, sorry, there we go. Yeah, Destiny. I am an aviation personnel. Excellent. What do you do in aviation? I used to fly in the Marine Corps, so I used to fly on C-130s. I was a navigator before they went to not having navigators anymore. So very good to see you. Thank you for joining me. We've got Rispa from Canada. Excellent. But you guys are probably having a heck of a winter right now too. It is freezing here in Indiana. We are up to, let's see, it is well below freezing, so we'll just say it that way. Oh, I can't see my temperature. Everything's kind of wonky on my computer right now, so I apologize. But yeah, it's chilly. Oh, there's my Hornet driver. Hello, hey Jack, good to see you. John Duffy, good to see you, my brother. All right, glad you could join us. All right, so if you are just joining, let me know who you are, where you're from, and what line of work that you're in. So let me go ahead and share this. Just a quick thing, if you are in business for yourself and you are looking to scale your business, and this is probably why you might be on this, I just want to let you know that there's a couple of things, there's a couple of truths here that you should know as a business owner. Sorry, I'm having to take a lot more water in lately. It has been very, very dry in my office just because of the heat's basically been running constantly. So a couple quick things. If you are in business for yourself, I just want you to understand just a couple of truths, and I'm going to get to those truths here in just a quick second. But before we do, I just want to put down some ground rules here in terms of what the next hour or so is going to be. I have it scheduled for 90 minutes. We're probably not going to go that long, but I just want to make sure that you get your values worth here. Tunisian, my name is, oh, you are Tunisian. Very good. Nice to meet you. Name is Gassan, owner and president of company design graphic future technology. Excellent. Very good. I'm glad that you could join us today. So just a couple of quick things. I know some of you are joining me. It sounds like some of you are in a very different time zone than I am here in the eastern United States. So you might be putting kids to bed. You might be, wrapping up your evening. Regardless of where you're from, I just want to make sure that you're spending your time with me productively. So please do your very best not to multitask. Try to stay as plugged in as best as you can. I know it's difficult. I know you're on your phones and on your tablets and on your computers. And I just want to make sure that you are so you are plugged in and you don't miss any potential nuggets. So again, do your very best not to multitask as you are going through this today, because we've got a lot of information to cover and I don't want you to miss anything. So first and foremost, I just want to make sure that you understand that if you are in a business, that's great. But understand, it's important that I share with you an important truth. There's a lot of stuff out there on social media right now, and especially I see several in the small business space that keep talking about, if you have $1 million business and you want to take it to 10 million or 100 million or whatever. I respect that, I do, but it's important that you understand a couple of universal truths. Is that you cannot scale a broken business model. You just can't. As much as you might want to, and as much as you have all this I can do it attitude, which is absolutely important, there's just some economics that come into play where you just can't scale a broken business model. A broken business model is just not scalable. On top of that, it's important that you recognize that not all businesses are scalable. I'm going to give you a good example. When I was climbing out of the wreckage that was in 2010, which was obviously a very bad economic environment, I didn't have any way to make money short of going out and getting a job. And at that point in time, not many people were hiring. So it was interesting, although I probably could have got a job in lots of different fields. I'm very employable if I absolutely had to feed my family. But the thing is that I had this property management business. I was basically managing a lot of rental properties. But the interesting thing was, I had taken this business that I had, where I had $6.5 million worth of real estate, and turned that into about $1 million in about 8 months. Okay, again, 6.5 million down to about 1.5 million actually. So the thing was, I didn't have any way to make money. I didn't have enough income coming in. But what I did figure out is there was a real demand in the marketplace for people who needed home repairs, right? Home repair services. And that was it was a niche thing, and I could make decent money at it. In fact, I was making really good money at it, to the point where I was making maybe $1,000 to $1,500 a day. And because of that turn, over that next roughly year or so, I was able to make some pretty decent money and use that as a toehold to kind of climb out of the major problems that I had. Thing was, it wasn't sustainable, right? I was working 12, sometimes 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. And even though I was making pretty decent money, it just wasn't sustainable. Nor was it scalable. And the reason why it wasn't scalable is because I had to rely on my own skill set. If I relied on the skill set of others and tried to leverage this property home repair business, I tried it a couple different ways, and I always just felt like I was training my own competition to go into business for themselves. And that was the real problem. So that's where I just want you to recognize that not all businesses are scalable. And that in particular was a broken business model. It just didn't work in my market, and I tried it a number of different ways. So I just want you to keep that in mind. And just because it's not necessarily scalable doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it, right? I did that business for a little over a year, where I made a little over $250,000 in revenues, and I got to keep most of that. I mean, most of that was actually profit. And that gave me enough of a toehold to get climbed out, even though I owed, roughly $5 million in all these different deficiency judgments and credit cards and everybody else who I can pay. Or I couldn't pay, that allowed me to get some traction to actually get back on my feet again. So I'm not suggesting that just because you have something like this, it's not worth doing, but just understand you could utilize that as kind of a lifeboat to get you to somewhere else where you want to be. All right. So just keep that in mind. What I'm going to be talking about is a strategic approach to managing your life and managing your business. We are going to take both a holistic approach to looking at your life and your business, as we're looking at the strategic business growth multiplier. So who's this for? This is for established business owners with employees. Now, I'm not suggesting that if you don't have employees that this isn't going to be relevant for you, but you are going to need help. You are going to need other people in your business to help you grow, right? I mean, it could be, you might just be an entrepreneur who maybe doesn't even have a business yet, but you recognize that you're going to have to bring others on board. And when I mean bringing others on board, that could be in the form of employees, it could be in the form of subcontractors, it could be in the form of vendors, but these are people who are doing other things rather than you trying to do all of the major functions of your business and all of the minor functions of your business. So if you're a solopreneur or a one-man army who wants to stay that way, no disrespect to you, but if you're trying to grow, and especially if you're trying to scale, those are two different things, by the way. If you're trying to grow or you're trying to scale your business and you're trying to do that quickly, you're going to have to bring the efforts of other people's labor on board. And I just keep in mind, I fought this for years, and I was bottlenecked when I was trying to do every single thing myself. And here's the interesting thing, is that it's not that you can't do everything. But the reality is you can only do one thing at a time. No matter how good you think you are at multitasking, all you're doing is task switching. And psychologists have studied this over and over and over again. That task switching is just brutal on our brains, and it just wears us out a lot faster. So when you have others in your organization, that's when you can start to get multiple things done. And here's an interesting thing. Whenever I have worked with entrepreneurs, and I've recognized that many entrepreneurs that I'm working with, they're really smart, and they have a really good work ethic, which is what I suspect for many of you on the call, is that you're really smart and you have a really good work ethic. The problem is that you're really smart and you have a really good work ethic. So just because a problem comes across your desk doesn't necessarily mean it's a problem for you to solve. You probably could solve it. You probably can solve most problems that come across your desk. The problem is most most decisions that come across your desk are probably below your pay grade. And that's probably a better problem for someone else to solve. So, and again, if it wasn't a problem, if it is a problem that comes across your desk, and because it is a problem that you feel like you have to solve it, I know many business owners that'll take 20 and 30 hours of effort trying to solve that problem that really is a better problem solved for someone else. So it's about being efficient. It's about being efficient and effective with your use of time. So when you have others that you're bringing into your organization, again, like I said, now you can get multiple things done at a time. And bringing others into your organization doesn't just have a growth effect on your business, it has a scaling effect on your business, right? Growth is more linear, scaling is exponential. So I just want you to understand that. So a couple things really quick as we get into, before we get into the agenda, is I just want you to understand that many people who come, they come here because they seek knowledge just for the basic understanding of things, which is fine. It's a very low standard. It's like at the end they go, oh yeah, that was very good. Thank you so much. And they give me a clap. Okay, that's fantastic. But I want you to actually think about this from the perspective of taking in knowledge to take action. So listen, good or bad or whatever, on the other side of this, I want you to think of these are the things that I'm going to be taking specific action on. So I'm going to ask you again at the end, what are the things that you're going to take action on? It's fine. Listen, I've done enough of these now. I don't need the accolades. I don't need the applause. Sure, it feels good to say that was a great job, but that's not what I'm here for. I'm here because I want to make an impact on you, and I want you to change things for you and your life and your business. So let's get to the agenda. First things we're going to talk about is the systems component of your business. And then the systems are what every business needs. On the other side of systems is psychology. So it's the S&P approach, the systems and psychology. And that takes a two-tier approach. So beyond systems and psychology, we're going to be looking at the 4 core functions of business. So this is going to be cross-sectional. So we're taking the systems and psychology approach, and then we're looking at it from left to right, which is the 4 core functions of business. And then we're going to be talking about actual scaling, which is controlled growth, but controlled exponential growth. And that's what we're going to be looking at. And then, of course, we're going to be talking about different resources to set you up for success beyond today. So let's start with this business approach. And like I said, it's this S&P approach, which is both systems and psychology. And we are going to get started with systems. So we've got a couple of people just saying hello. So let's get to those folks real fast. I'm going to call you Darm. I run a tech company exploring networking opportunities and meeting the right target audience. That's exactly right. And we're going to get to that here in just a few minutes about specifically what an ideal client avatar could look like for you. So thank you for sharing that. In your company as president and owner, my first thought is to be thinking and working and best team make a success. That's right. Bringing that team on board is really going to be important. And we're going to be talking about that, especially around the company culture, when we discuss the 3 C's of business vision: core purpose, core values, and client avatar. So we're going to get to that here in just a minute or two. So thank you guys for sharing that. Okay, so let's get to the systems component of the business. So you got the systems piece, and this is everything that I wrote about in the Time Wealthy Advantage, which is this book over my shoulder here. If you are outside of the United States and you are interested in getting a copy of this book, my suggestion is to buy it from Amazon. They can fulfill that in just about every industrialized country. I'm not sure where they don't deliver, to be honest with you, but that's probably the best way to get that in your hands. The second thing I would suggest, if you are inside the United States and you'd like a signed copy of this, you can go to strategicboardroom.com and you can purchase it there. So I'm not here to necessarily promote the book. I just want to make sure that you're aware of it if you'd like to go on a deeper dive with the Viper framework. We have a hair calculator that gives clients estimation of grafts of hair needed for the hair transplant, and also calculator gives an estimated cost. Artisticbuzz.com. We partner with different clinics around the world from North America, Africa, and Asia. That sounds really cool, Rispa. They're very good. Thank you very much for sharing that. All right. So, okay, so from here, you're looking at the Viper framework. The Viper framework that I talked about in the Time Wealthy Advantage. And by the way, that's a long book. So it's not like a gimme, like 80, 90 page book. It's just shy of 300 pages. And this is where I detail out the Viper framework all the way through. So if you are looking for a deeper dive, you can always go deeper there if you'd like. But the Viper framework is an acronym for vision, infrastructure, process, execution, and reporting. And this is a top-down approach that you're going to take in your business. So we're going to start with vision, which is made up of two components. Vision is made up of both personal vision and business vision. So your personal vision, I want you to think about this from the perspective of what your life would look like if you woke up tomorrow with, 30 million euro in your bank account, or $30 million in your bank account, or 30 million pounds in your bank account. Whatever that looks like for you, I want you to think about what your life would look like if your life description wasn't your job description. In other words, where you were say, well, what do you do? Oh, I'm an accountant, or I'm an IT consultant, right? That's where your job description becomes your life description. I want you to think about this from the perspective of what your life would look like if it wasn't defined by income generation. And you just start asking this basic question of, all right, cool, where do you want to go? Where do you specifically want to go? If you woke up in the morning, fine, buy all the fancy stuff that you want to buy, but realistically, you still have to be a good steward of your money. What would that look like for you if you didn't have to worry about income generation? So where would you go? What would that look like? What would your relationships look like? What would your relationships with your family look like? Your spouse, your friends, your faith even. What would that look like? And then with that defined, then the business vision is going to ask, okay, cool. Now that we know where you want to go, let's design how we're going to get there. And this is interesting because I have sat in many, many seminars and masterminds sitting next to people who I know legitimately were making 6 and 7 figures a month net, and they were miserable. And the interesting thing that they were more worried about, they were trying to make an extra comma in their bank account and not really address what was going on in their personal life, not really addressing what was going on in their home. And it's interesting because this is the thing that I see a lot of folks doing this, like, yeah, let me make that let me make $50,000 a month. Let me make $100,000 a month, and then I'll have that better life thing. The problem is these guys and gals did the same thing, but they never spent any time actually getting really clear on their personal vision. So I just want you to understand this is very, very critical to spend this time actually dialing this in and getting really clear, because what they did was they confused achievement for fulfillment. And that's not what we're about here. So the real danger in creating a business vision without giving any consideration to a personal vision is that you end up creating a life that exists to serve the business. And that's what we're trying to avoid. I'm just telling you, I've been down that road for more than a decade at one point, and it just sucked. It just didn't give me the juice from the squeeze. And finally, when I got my head right and started focusing on the right thing, the irony is I actually started making more money and having a really good life. So the personal vision, I'm going to do this one little component of personal vision, and the rest of today is going to be around business and business vision. So please hang in there for just 2 more minutes. But here's just a quick exercise that I'm going to suggest for you in creating a personal vision. So this is what it would look like. This would be where you come up with a 100th birthday speech. So pretend that you're turning 100 years old, and you've gathered all the people who you care about and care about you. What would you say? Like, first of all, who would you want to be there? But what would you say to these people? You get up on the little stage and you've prepared this speech. What would you say? You've had 100 years of life. What would you say to these people? What would you want others to say to you when you're done speaking? You get done, everyone claps, and you step down and someone hands you a piece of 100-year, your 100th birthday cake. Hopefully not a 100-year birthday cake. That sounds disgusting. But a fresh birthday cake of your 100th birthday. What would you want them to say to you as you were stepping down? And what would be the message that you would like them to carry outside the room to other people when you were done? So I want you to think about that. Now, if you might be thinking, well, man, 100th birthday speech, that is just so far removed from my perspective. I mean, dude, I'm 20, I'm 30. Like, I can't even think about 70 years from now. Fine. Here's what I would suggest. Think about the next major milestone for you. Maybe that's your kids graduating from high school. Maybe that's your kids graduating from college. Maybe that's you turning 30 or 40 or 45 or your next high school reunion? What's the next major milestone for you that you could put a speech together for something like that? Okay, so think about that in terms of personal vision. All right, so let's see here. Dharmup is, you've got health, finance, sharing my mistakes, things that I can do better. Absolutely. Yeah, very good. And those are the sorts of things that I would ask you to really get clear about what you would want your relationships to look like as well. So those are some good categories, but also think about the different things that you would want your life to look like in terms of relationships. All right, so that's your personal vision. Now let's talk about business vision. Now, business vision is really, it's not that complex, but it is going to take a little bit of work to get there. So let's talk about that. So the 3 C's of business vision are related to the first of all, they are core purpose, core values, and client avatar. And I'm just letting you know that anytime that I have been hired as a strategist or as CSO, Chief Strategic Officer, and I'm coming in and working on a fractional basis, that every time when I've been invited into a company and I look at these 3 C's, almost always one or all of these 3 C's is there's some deficiency in these areas. And it will show up in employee turnover. It will show up in bad company culture. You get people who are fighting and bickering, and there's office gossip. People are coming in late and leaving early. You have trouble attracting the right type of avatar, the right type of customer. You have a lot of turnover with your clients. These are the sorts of things that I generally see when a company is weak in one or more of these areas. So let's unpack first core purpose. When you look at core purpose, you're going to ask yourself a very specific question. And that question is, what business are you in? What business are you specifically in? And what problems do you specifically solve? When you can think about the problems that you specifically solve, this becomes vastly easier, especially if you are very specific in your answers. Because if you just say, well, I'm in IT, that doesn't tell me much. If you say that I'm in real estate, again, that doesn't really tell me much. If you say that you're in banking, again, that doesn't tell me much. But if you said, instead of banking, that you said that you are a residential mortgage consultant in this specific market of the United States, that's suddenly much more specific, right? And because you're so specific, you're going to be attracting a lot of people who want to do business with you. Most people, and I would say the vast majority of people, especially small business owners, don't need tens of thousands of customers. Probably a couple of dozen would make a big difference for you, and maybe more than likely, probably less than 100 would probably be a big deal. So again, you might be saying, well, yeah, but I only do, I get very few people who actually come back to me. Okay, that's fine. But don't they know people? Don't they know people who are also buying and selling houses or may need funding, might need something else, might need home equity lines of credit or something else? And that's where you have to be really, really specific about what it is that you do and what problems that you can specifically solve. So, Dharm, you're saying this is I am getting from my customers when pitch them, as we provide large set of services. So how to be niche, right? So it's not necessarily how to be niche. What I'm saying to you is there's probably the main thing that you do. There's probably the main problem that you solve. So the issue is that when a customer comes to you and you'd say, well, okay, well, what kind of problems you have? You're like, they're like, I don't know. Well, what can you do? And you offer them all these different choices. The problem is the customer doesn't know which one to solve first. They're relying on you to solve that first. So let's say, for argument's sake, you run a general auto repair shop, okay? And someone brings in their vehicle, but you're known for rebuilding engines really, really good. Like, that's what you're known for. You're known for rebuilding engines, and they bring in the car, and the car's got a blown engine. Are you going to worry about trying to sell them a set of tires first? No, that makes no sense. Even if the tires were a much higher margin business for you, you'd say, no, I have to fix their engine first, or the tires are irrelevant. So a lot of times there's usually a core critical piece that you can sell first that's going to solve a lot of other problems. So all I'm saying for you is you have to determine, yes, it is important that you dial this into the core purpose. And a lot of times that purpose is actually avatar based, meaning not saying that you have to do only one or two things. I have companies that do lots of different things. I have several marketing companies that I work with that do literally dozens of different things for their clients. And most businesses do. I would also argue that most businesses do way too much. And the problem with that is because they get too fragmented and they try to become everything to everybody. And that becomes another problem. But I would make that more around a theme, around a specific avatar. When you can do that as around a theme, around a specific avatar, I do a lot of different things as a strategist. I help them with their lead gen. I help them with their sales and sales training. I help them with their operation and fulfillment efficiency functions. I also help them with their accounting. And I can help them with training, and I can help them with hiring and firing and things like that. So I have a multitude of services that I offer as well, but I like to focus that on a direct, specific avatar. I really like working with married Christian business couples who have kids at home, who've got a business, and they really are struggling with their time management and their time wealth. And they always seem to be running around and being very, very busy. So for me, I made that theme around helping people get a time wealthy advantage, about helping them in creating time for them in their business. So they have a business that doesn't run them instead of them running it. Does that make sense? So I focus that more around a theme than any other thing. So it's a really, really good question that you have there. So hopefully that is helpful. All right. You guys are asking good questions. So let me see here. 99% of work problem resolved quickly, and to be able to make happy and client customer, sorry, I am not understanding what you're trying to say there. 99% of work problems resolved quickly to be make happy any client customer in my company as a president. I'm always thinking that. Okay, yeah, so you're always worried about client satisfaction. And here's what I would recommend to you too, Gasson, is when you're saying that, like, we're not looking for satisfied customers. What we're looking for, I mean, let's face it, satisfied customer is the base standard. That's the expectation that, like, you go to a restaurant, you get food, you sit down, you get food, you eat food, you pay a reasonable amount for food, and you leave. Are you satisfied? Yeah. Are you going to tell anybody? Probably not, because they didn't really go out of their way to do anything other than just satisfy you. But if they really went out and beyond their way, whether it was through the food or the service or whatever, and they really knocked your socks off, and you become a raving fanatic about their business, that's something different. That's a very different standard. So that would be the thing that I would be focused on, because then I have pricing power, because people are then going to be like, oh my gosh, you have got to go to this restaurant. They were amazing. And they knocked the cover off the ball with service or their food quality or whatever it is. That's a very different standard than just saying, oh, I'm satisfied. Okay. So very, very good point. Dharma says, yes, true. For us, we have a spectrum of services, sometimes very hard to resonate with requirements. Yeah, and that's why I would make this around a theme. I'm going to come back to that in just a second. Most Rispa is asking, most people who are looking for hair treatment, it's very hard to find actual prices online for things like hair transplant. Our product solves the problem. People can figure out the price and then either save money to achieve their dream hair, and the price our calculator matches the clinic. This helps a customer a lot of getting estimate numbers, graphs, costs, and clinic. Very good. Okay, so here what you're describing here, and I'm going a little bit off script here because you guys are asking really, really good questions. This is something that I'm going to be talking about in Marketing Magic, which is a different, I think I might actually be hosting that tomorrow. I have to check on that. In fact, I can check on that right now. Marketing Magic is tomorrow. Yeah. So if you'd like to go on Eventbrite, you can join me on that one tomorrow. So that, what I'm going to be talking about though, and this is where you're looking at temperatures of traffic. Okay. And the temperatures of traffic that you have are either frozen traffic, cold traffic, warm traffic, or hot traffic. I'm going completely off script here, so I'm probably going to go a little long, but this is really important and very relevant to what we're talking about right now. So when you're talking about frozen traffic is not even aware that they have a problem. They don't even know that there's a problem. Okay, so what you're going to do is you want to warm that traffic up, and you warm them up by making them problem aware. Hey, did you know that this is a problem? They're like, oh, shoot. Did you know you might be paying more taxes than you should be? Oh, I didn't know that. Did you know that you actually, if you have a growing company, you actually could be growing broke? Oh, I didn't know that, right? You're making them problem aware. They are now cold traffic. Are they ready to be sold to yet? No. No. Okay. But what you're doing is you're warming them up. And because you are demonstrating your authority by demonstrating that you know what you're doing and what you're talking about, you're citing your what it is that you know, you're building trust with them, you're demonstrating competence. That's a really fast way to create trust with a client or an avatar. So now that you'd say, cool, well, this is a potential problem. Now that you're aware of the problem, now your job is to make them aware of the solution. And you'd say, hey, well, anybody who might be paying too much in taxes, maybe this type of software can help them pay less taxes. Or maybe if your business is not efficient, then this is something you should do to help, this piece of software or this product or service or whatever will help them be more efficient. Okay, now they are solution aware. So they went from not problem aware at all, frozen traffic, to cold traffic, problem aware, to warm traffic. They are now problem aware and solution aware. And now you warm them up a little further until they are hot traffic. And now they are you aware. They are aware of what you do and your product and your service. And that evolution from educating them all the way up to say, hey, did you know this was a problem? No, I didn't know this was a problem. Well, and here, not only is it a problem, here's the solution. And now that they know the solution, they go, yeah, and by the way, this is what I can help you with. Oh, so now they're aware of you. Are they ready to buy? Are they hot traffic? Are they ready to hand you money? No, they're not. Because there's one other key component to this, and that is recognizing their desire. They might be very hot traffic. They might know there's a problem. They might know that there's a solution. Heck, they may not know about you. And they don't care. Right? And if they don't care about the problem or the solution or you're not going to sell them. They go, yeah, that's a problem. Nah, I don't care. Right? Like, again, how many of you know of, and I'm not trying to be mean here, but how many things are there really valuable, worthy world causes, like saving the whales or taking trash out of the oceans, or lots of good causes like that, right? But let's be honest, you can't care about every single one of those causes. There's lots of good causes. Saving penguins is probably just as important as saving whales. But I don't know how many people are really lit up about saving both penguins and whales, right? Probably not very many. And that's why I'm saying is you might have an answer to their problem, but it's not a problem they're willing to solve. And it may not be a problem that they're willing to pay to have solved. They just go, yeah, it's a problem. It's just not something I'm really worried about right now. So there has to be desire. And once you understand the desire, now you can address the desire and say, hey, you know that business partner of yours that competitor of yours that's making a lot more money than you, and they have a pretty decent life. How would you like that? Oh man, now you're tapping into some real desire. And that's what's important. So again, there's a couple of breaks in the evolution there, but you have to understand that warm traffic, frozen to cold to warm to hot is important to make them problem aware, solution aware, and you aware. But you also have to recognize their desire. If they don't have the desire to change, or if they don't have the desire to really fix the problem, they're not going to buy. They just won't. And they won't buy from anybody. So it's not just you. All right. So hopefully, I know we went off the yellow brick road there, but hopefully that is helpful for you. All right. I'm getting Dharma saying, yes, I agree. I don't know what that was, but I'm going to say yes. Dharma says, that raises another question. Once we're able to close the prospect to the client, they stay longer, but prospecting and getting them in confidence is hard part. I am not understanding that question. Let me say that one more time. That raises another question. Once we're able to close the prospect and they become a client, they stay longer, but prospecting and get them in confidence is hard part. Would you share some ideas for the same? What I would suggest, Arm, because this really isn't a marketing session, but I would recommend joining me tomorrow at the same time. You can log in to Eventbrite and sign up for that. That might help answer some of those questions. But let me get through the rest of the 3 C's here, because I am run super long on this. But you guys are asking some fantastic questions, and I don't want to gloss over them, but I do need to keep moving. So I think your answers, I got 2 more C's to get through, and that might help answer your question. So if you still have that same question, try to reword that just a little bit. I think I know what you're saying, but yeah, you are more than welcome, darn it. Okay, thank you. All right, so the core purpose, again, is what business are you in and what problems do you specifically solve? So that's really important to be dialed in on your core purpose. Now let's talk about core values. Core values is what matters to you about this business, and how would the world be worse off if you were no longer in business? And this is really critical, because the core values, as much as this might sound squishy and you're like, oh, geez, are these soft skill things? Yeah, but the reality is this, is that your employees and your vendors and your subcontractors experience your business based on your core values, because your core values is what helps determine company culture. And company culture and company brand are inextricably linked. And that, the reason I say that is because your customers experience your company through your company brand. Your employees experience your company through your company culture. And that's why I'm saying those two things, you can't separate those two. And you define your company culture but through the use of your core values. So this is, again, you start thinking of what your personal core values are, and because your business is just an extension of you, you extend those core values to your business. Now think about that. That's why it's so important when you're starting to think about your core values, your personal core values. That's where you're willing to walk away from a friendship, or even from a relative who is not in alignment with your core values. If you've ever had a friend who's headed down a path that you just couldn't follow, yeah, that's because there was a violation of a core value. So if you look back and say, yeah, they lied to me, they would never, or they would do one thing and say another. And so one was a real problem with honesty. So honesty might be a core value for you, right? Especially if it's something that you're willing to act upon. If it's like, it bugs me, but I'm not really willing to do much about it, it might just be a value for you. But a core value is something that you're willing to act upon. And that's how you know it's a core value. So that would be the core value. So we talked about core purpose, we talked about core values. Now let's talk about the client avatar. The client avatar is who specifically and ideally do you want to serve? And you break them down into geographics, demographics, and psychographics. Look, the more you can be dialed in to these individuals, and I mean, you got to know these people very, very well. And you got to know them from both a geographic and demographic perspective, but also a psychographic perspective. So let's unpack that. Geographics is where they are, where they live. It's pretty straightforward. Demographics is who they are. Are they married? Are they single? Are they divorced? Are they young? Are they poor? Are they rich? Whatever the demographics are, it's really important you know who they are. And psychographics is how psycho they are, right? No, I'm kidding. Psychographics is how they think and how they buy. So when you're thinking of psychographics, I want you to think of the acronym ALIA, A-L-I-A. Their psychographics, again, is how they think and how they buy. So you're thinking of their attitudes, their lifestyles, their interests, and their aspirations and goals. When you can think about and know your customer this well, and you know their attitudes on education, you know their attitudes on betterment, or their attitudes towards politics, right? Whatever their attitudes are. What's their attitudes towards business? What's their lifestyle like? Are they young, jet-setting around the world? And, are they a young couple, or are they an older single person, right? That just kind of is more like a homebody. That doesn't really like to go out much, right? Do they eat out much, right? What's their lifestyle like? Or do they like to cook at home? Do they like to have people coming over and where they host a lot of parties, that sort of thing? What's their lifestyle like? What are their interests? Are they into college football? Or are they into American football? Or are they into European football? Are they into NASCAR? Or are they into Formula One? It's really important you understand their interests. Do they like reading? Do they like painting? Whatever. It's important you know their interests as best as you can. And then their aspirations and their goals, especially if you know their goals. Their aspirations, what are they aspiring to, and what are their goals? If you can understand these 4 things, I'm telling you, you can reach your client much easier in your marketing. All right. Let's see. Final question. It's okay, man. That's a long one. Okay. Final question. Case study. We're working on an application is Spendable, spendable.us. It's an AI-backed personal finance platform that helps users understand, track, and control their spending. Okay. It consolidates financial data into clear dashboards with intelligent categorization and insights. AI-driven recommendations support smarter spending, better savings, and real-time goal tracking, all built with strong security pricing at its core. I have 22,000 users, but not all are paying. Okay. All right. We are targeting Alice. Asset, limited income, constrained, employed. Okay. So what's your question? So you just kind of give a case study here, but I'm not really sure what you want me to do with that. I mean, it sounds good. And the thing that I would recommend on something like that, Dharmdev, is you've got to recognize that money has an emotional component to it, and you're addressing it very logically, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if I was going to be marketing something like this, what I would do is I would market that based on the emotional side of it and say, hey, look, this takes the emotion out of your money. How would you just like to log in and know that this is what's going on, so you can be unemotional about your money? Like you've got to recognize that there is absolutely an emotional component to money, and people's approaches to money unfortunately can't be changed just by trying to take the logic, applying all logic to it and taking all emotion out of it. It just doesn't work that way. But you might try to address that in the marketing in some creative way. So it sounds like it's a pretty cool thing, but I'm not really sure what your question is. But it sounds like you've got a lot of users, but just none are buying just yet. So that would be something. Here's what I would suggest. If you want to hang out to the end, Darmdeep, I'm going to offer you guys to join my school community, and you're more than welcome to. We can continue that conversation in there through chat here and there. But I am not really sure what you're asking if you're trying to get more people to use this. I think realistically, my suggestion is you got to recognize that there's an emotional component, and that might be why there might be not so much adoption, but I'm not sure. Oh, okay. Glass is saying, in my own company, important to me to make happy client, to make them choose like is want. Okay. Yeah. And again, what I would say realistically is that, yeah, you want a happy client, but happy is the base standard. I would want them a raving fanatic. I would want someone to be absolutely like, knock the cover off the ball. I love those people. They are amazing. They get me. Okay. So that would be how I would want to approach them. All right. So that's the 3 C's of business vision: core purpose, core values, and client avatar. Some of you clearly have stuff really well dialed in. This is great, but chances are there might be other areas that are weak. And again, all this business vision is help define the DNA. It's not going to help you necessarily right out of the gate help you with your marketing strategy. But if you can't do any sort of marketing strategy unless you know these 3 things. And when these things are really dialed in, you start attracting the best type of clients and the best type of help, whether that's employees or vendors, that can help you take you where you want to go. So that is the vision component: personal vision and business vision. Let's talk infrastructure. When you have infrastructure, you want to think about the bones of the business, right? The desks, the chairs, the software, things like that. Websites and so forth. And this is where you're thinking about all these different aspects of infrastructure through the 4 core functions of business. We'll get to that in a second, but the lead generation, the sales, the operations, and accounting. You want to think of all the things that you might need, that your lead generation might need. You might need a CRM. You might need some sort of lead generation software, something along those lines, some piece of infrastructure that you may need. The reason, and it's super critical to the formation of a business, but it doesn't precede vision. You still want vision to come first. And the reason for that is because, let's say for argument's sake that, again, Gasson, for example, let's say that his vision is to lay on the beach in Spain for 2 months out of the year, rubbing cocoa butter on his belly. Okay. And that's fine vision. The problem is that if he builds an infrastructure that's going to require him to return emails and phone calls in a timely manner, that's going to be a terrible experience when he's trying to lay on the beach for 2 months out of the year rubbing cocoa butter on his belly. So you have to think about this when you're constructing this infrastructure. You want to keep that in alignment with your business vision, of course, and then, of course, your personal vision. So that's why vision has to come first. So after you have vision and then infrastructure, then you have process. Process is simply how you do stuff. And process is from the perspective of both tactical and strategic. Okay, it's tactical and strategic. We're going to talk about the tactical part of process first. All right, you guys got me all chatty. I'm all dry. All right, so the process, when you're looking at tactical part of process, you're just looking at basically how you do stuff from a day-to-day perspective. You got your standard operating procedures, your checklists, day-to-day activities, your opening procedures, your closing procedures, how you prepare bank deposits, how you answer the phone, all stuff like that. All right. If you're looking at we'll go back to the vision or the Viper framework for just a second. If I draw a box around infrastructure and tactical process, that box is the system. And I want you to think about it from this perspective. That system is like the warship. It's like the battleship, and you've got it sitting in the harbor. But you don't just want it sitting there, letting it get battered around by whatever economic winds happen to be blowing around at the time. So I want you to think about that from this perspective, where you want to form a strategy to take that ship and take it out of the harbor. You want to take it and go make some trouble. Great. So that's what strategic planning does. And to have an effective strategic plan, you need 3 basic things. You need people, purpose, and promotion. And from those components comes a strategic plan. So from the people perspective, that might be the people that you're targeting. That might be the people that you are going to be targeting in a new strategic plan, because maybe you want to expand market share or launch a new product or service or whatever. That's part of the purpose, right? That part of the purpose is expanding market share, launching a new product or service, vertically integrating into a market, something, whatever your purpose is. Okay, that's part of the strategic purpose. But the people component, this is where you're thinking about this from not only who you're targeting, but whom else might you need, so that you can actually scale. You're saying, hey, look, I'm going to have a lot more volume. I need someone to help me answer the phones. Or I'm going to have a lot more volume. I need someone to help someone manage the chat bot, or manage the chat room or whatever. That's where you have to start thinking of not only externally for the people that you're targeting, but also internally in terms of what kind of help that you may need. All right. So that would be your people. The purpose, like I said, now keep in mind that the people that you're aligned with, it also has to be in alignment with your client avatar, the people who you're actually trying to attract, and also the people that you may be looking to hire, who are in alignment with your core purpose, with your core values. The core purpose, or the strategic purpose, is also has to be in alignment with your core purpose. Because if you don't align with your core purpose, the strategic purpose can be something that is so completely not related to your core purpose of your business that people get very confused. It would be if Starbucks coffee started selling chainsaws. That would make no sense at all. It's like, well, we're selling chainsaws because we can. Yeah, but that doesn't make any sense, right? And the confused mind, when it comes to your customer, will always say no. So I want you to keep that in mind, that your strategic purpose has to be in alignment with your core purpose. And the last piece is just simply promotion. And this is where you have to repeat yourself a lot. It's not just simple communication. You're not just going to tell your target audience one time, and then if no one comes, like, well, I told them, no one came and bought. No, you have to repeat yourself a lot. So that's why I'm saying, like, when it comes to promotion, you have to think about this in terms of evolution. And the same thing with promotion internally. You have to say the same thing over and over and over to your people, whether they are your employees, whether they are your vendors, whatever it is, your suppliers, so forth and so on, so they know what the strategic plan is. And this is why I'm saying, like, I have a lot of people that they say, well, I told my people once, they should know. Yeah, but they're not going to. They're not going to do the thing, because realistically, if you're like most entrepreneurs, you have a new idea every single day. And because every time you get out of the shower, you have a new business idea. Am I right? So you got to recognize that it could be also the way, because you're showing up, that they don't want to listen to your repeated efforts to say things over and over. So, it's like, hey, are we going to actually follow through on this plan or the 19 ideas you came up with last week? So you got to have to recognize your culpability in that. All right. Gaston's got a quick question. My bigger in my vision business is to be between technology, architectural plan, house AI is to be client desire. They dream house like a smart house. Okay, so you're thinking about creating a smart house. Okay, very good. Yeah. Okay, and that's good. So what you want to do is get that really dialed in to what you want your vision to look like from, again, the core purpose. That sounds like a decent core purpose, but who is going to buy that? Who's the client avatar that's going to buy that smart house? And what core values are you going to be in a lot that are really going to be matter to you? Like who are these people? Like, what do you represent? So you do business in a good way that's in alignment with who you are as an individual. Okay. Really good, Gaston. Thank you for sharing that with me. All right. So that is the process portion that's tactical and strategic. And that's going to be done with the vision, infrastructure, process portion of the Viper methodology. Let's get to the execution portion. Darmdeep, you are saying, thank you very much. Appreciate the knowledge and answering questions. Yeah, absolutely. I live for this. I absolutely love it. And I apologize. I know you guys, listen, you guys have really, really good questions. And I apologize if I'm not understanding the questions exactly, but you guys are asking really good questions. So thanks for staying so engaged. All right. So let's look at the execution function. The execution component to this is one of my favorite quotes by General George S. Patton: is a good plan violently executed now is better than the perfect plan executed next week. And the reason why I come up with this particular quote and why I put this here and why execution has a spot in the Viper framework is because most plans fall apart in their execution. Most business owners, especially most entrepreneurs, they have that to-do list of 37 things that they're going to try to get done today, right? And it was probably the same things that they were trying to get done yesterday. And again, if I had 3 hands, I'd put them all up because that is exactly what I used to be like. But this is the problem, is that you have too many priorities. And when you have too many priorities, it has the same impact as having no priorities. So that's why I like to break things down into what's called a daily 5. The daily 5 is up to 5 highly specific actions that you can take that are going to move the needle towards your vision or your strategic plan. One of the two. And I say daily 5, but actually up to 5. For me, the magic number is 3. This here is part of my daily 3. And if I do daily 5, I can do 5, but I can't do daily 5 every single day. I would get burned out. So for me, 3 is kind of a sweet spot number. But what I'm talking about are very highly specific actions that are going to be the needle movers for you. Checking your voicemail is probably not a needle moving activity. Checking your email, probably not a needle moving activity. So you have to have highly specific actions that you can take that are going to move the needle towards your vision or your strategic plan. One of the two. Okay. So this is why you have to have these things defined. Now let's get to the reporting function. The reporting function, we talked about vision. We talked about infrastructure. We talked about process, both tactical and strategic. We talked about execution, right? The daily 5 things that we're going to do every single day. Now we're going to talk about reporting. And reporting are the lead metrics and the lag metrics. The lead metrics are simply, they precede the lag metrics, right? That's why they're called lead metrics. And those are your actions and activities. That's it. The lead metrics are your actions and activities. It's the things that you do. And generally, they're going to be made up of the things that you do in your daily 5. That's it. Not complex, right? You're just measuring your actions and activities. In the lag metrics are the results of your actions and activities. You don't have any real direct control over your lag metrics. You don't have any direct control over how many sales you make, right? You don't. You don't have any direct control over how many people call you, right? You do have indirect control by how many ads you run and how many times you pick up the phone and try to call people. That might make sense, right? But you don't have any direct control over your lag metrics. I'm not suggesting that's not worth tracking them, but it is worth measuring your lag metrics. But again, if you don't like the results you're getting, you just simply look at your actions and activities. It's pretty straightforward. So that is the Viper framework: vision, infrastructure, process, execution, and reporting. So that is the systems component to what we're talking about today. Let's get into psychology. And as we're just getting started, let's see what Gaston was talking about. I always thinking my vision like vision Albert Einstein in my work. Yeah. And if you are in terms of vision, I mean, it doesn't have to be that grandiose. It could just simply be, it could be just some very simple things. So don't make your vision overly complex, because that's another way of just hiding from actually doing the things that you want to do. Don't make it so complex that you feel like it's this crazy, in the air, in the ether sort of thing that you can never attain. Make it tangible. Make it something that's actually realistic. And realistically, I would make that 3-year vision something that's kind of crazy, knock the cover off the ball. And you're looking at your 12-month vision, make that something a little bit more reasonable. That's just something to consider. All right, so we talked about systems. Now let's talk about psychology. So the psychology, look, systems are only going to get you, systems are important, but they are going to get you only so far. And they're important because systems offer stability, they offer consistency, and they offer accountability. But they're limited, right? Because they're not great at making subjective decisions. They're great at making objective decisions, but not subjective, decisions that may take a little bit of, it might take some experience to know what's right and what's wrong. Adapting to market changes is hard for systems, especially rapid market changes. Creative solutions, that's not really what systems are designed for. They're really designed more for stability and in establishing or maintaining human connections. I'm not talking about email responders and AI. I'm talking about actual human connections about, oh, you grew up there, I grew up there too. Hey, did you go to school at such and such, or did you play football, or did you play, violin when you were growing up, right? Yeah, my parents maybe played the piano, right? Those are the sorts of things where the human connections that AI just can't do. So when you're looking at the systems, we looked at the systems component. Now let's look at the psychology component. When you're looking at psychology, there's 2 components, which is the individual and personal psychology, and of course the business and organizational psychology. And personal psychology comes up with things like self-worth and self-management and limiting beliefs and even emotional intelligence. Those are all personal psychology components that are really important, especially for founders of businesses and owners of businesses. They have to deal with their own head trash that they're bringing to the organization. The business side of psychology comes with both external psychology and internal psychology. So let's look at that function around business psychology. Again, you got external and you got internal. External are things like buying psychology, like understanding the psychology of the buyer, understanding vendor psychology, which would be things like negotiations and things that you're going to be engaging in with your vendors, and even things like politics. And I have this labeled as external because I'm talking about actual external politics in the political landscape that's going on around your business and going on in society. Like right now in the US, politics is a disaster, right? Like everybody who's kind of in the middle, where I kind of am, I'm a little right leaning, but man, oh my gosh, there's so many of us in the middle that are just exhausted. They're just exhausted. And that's what's helping shape the political landscape. And I'm telling you, if you've got, as you grow and you have 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 employees, I'm telling you, you are going to attract the attention of the political environment. So I'm just saying you have to be ready for that. When you're looking at internal business psychology, you're looking at things like management and leadership. I'm going to specifically talk about leadership because in this particular case, the leadership really makes all the difference in an organization. So we're going to focus on that. There are 3 pillars that I look at when I'm considering leadership. And I think that these 3 pillars must exist, and all 3 pillars have to be there. So if you're going to be effective as a leader, you have to have trust, you have to have vision, and you have to have communication. Let's go through these really quickly. When you're talking about trust, you have to be able to have the trust of those individuals, because again, they might see your vision, right? Like, oh, cool. Yeah. He wants to take this company in that direction. That's great. And you might be a very effective communicator. You might be a beautiful orator, type out beautiful emails, but if they don't trust you, they are not going to follow you. You will not be effective as a leader. And what does it take to get them to trust you? Well, demonstrate some competence, that you know what you're talking about, but also demonstrate some character. Show them that you actually care about them. Show them that you are the type of person that they should follow. Demonstrate some benevolence. Demonstrate some, not just not just being nice, but being kind. And people often confuse nice and kind. Nice and kind are not the same thing. I can be nice to you, right? But it might not be the kind thing. The kind thing is to say something to someone that needs to be said to, where I'm like, hey, look, man, you're a nice guy. I like you. And you showed up late today, and I'm being nice to you right now. But that's not what's going to help you, because you're getting ready to lose your job. The kind thing is to say, look, if you show up late one more time, you're going to lose your job. And what's going on? I need to know, because if you can't fix this, then let's call it quits right now. That's the kind thing. So don't confuse nice and kind. I would much rather you be kind than nice. And because nice is only going to get you so far, but kind is going to get you a lot further. So that's what I'm talking about, but you can't get there without trust, right? And that's what I'm saying. You demonstrate competence, that you know what you're talking about, and you demonstrate character by demonstrating honesty, by demonstrating integrity. The next piece is vision. And this is really important to have a shared vision, because again, people may trust you and they may think that you're a beautiful communicator, but if you are not really clear about the vision that you're in, the direction that you're taking them, or if you didn't take the time to share that vision with them or enroll them in that vision, to say, hey, Dharmdeep, tell me, or Gaston, tell me, this is my vision. What are your thoughts around that vision? Do you have any thoughts about how we might be able to get there? Enroll them. Make it a shared vision, because people are far more likely to carry a ball that they helped inflate. And that's a really critical thing. So that is really important around vision. The last component is communication, because again, they could trust you. You might have a beautifully shared vision, but if you can't communicate, or you don't communicate often enough, again, you're not going to be effective as a leader. So these three things I'm telling you, I have looked at this backwards, forwards, and sideways. I could make an argument for maybe a fourth or fifth one, but right now they're a little bit loose, so I'm not going to share them. But I would just say trust, vision, and communication. Those three things, they have to be there. And all three of them have to be there, or you're not going to be effective as a leader. Let's see. Gasson was saying, I love that, because as leadership and owner of my company, high important trusting and communication. Yeah, I'm telling you, there's no way of getting around this. And also sharing that vision of where you're trying to go and enrolling them in that vision. That's really important. So very good, Gaston. Thank you. I appreciate the comment. So does leadership really matter? It absolutely does. I'm working on my next business book rather, right, called Leader Boss. And Leader Boss is really about this concept around caring and candor, where again, nice versus kind. And again, you can care for your people, but if you care for them too much and don't bring enough candor, they're going to walk all over you, right? But if you bring up too much candor, or you just kind of very strict with people, people are going to, they're going to resent you. They're going to call you a tyrant, and they're not going to do any more than just show up, do their job, and leave. So again, there's a healthy balance of caring and candor. And this is what we're talking about when we reference a level 5 leader. A level 5 leader is what Jim Collins talked about in his books, Good to Great, Great by Choice, Built to Last. These are level 5 leaders who are very effective in their organizations. They put the company first, they put their people first, they put their clients and customers first, and themselves second. They were very servant-oriented leaders, transformational leaders. I mean, these were really top level 5 leaders. John Maxwell, he also uses the phrase level 5 leaders, but he talks about it in a slightly different way of the pinnacle leader, if you know John Maxwell. But realistically, these are leaders who are really putting their organizations first. And these types of leaders, they led companies which were significantly more profitable. They were able to grow much, much faster. They had strong company cultures, and guess what? Yep, they had defined core values. Oh my gosh, it keeps coming around like a bad penny. Right, so these are the sorts of things that you recognize in the level 5 leader companies. And just as a quick graph, I'll show you this. And these are companies that were tracked from the graph built by Great by Choice by Jim Collins and Morton Hansen. So these were companies that were tracked over 30 years. Look at these market returns. Like, these were 24 times the market, 63 times the market of Southwest Airlines. That's crazy. And these lists of the 100 best places to work, those lists are always representing the companies with the highest stock returns. So that's what I just want to make sure that you understand, that leadership makes a huge difference in an organization. And that part of the reason for that is because growth requires change, and leadership is what helps manage that change. So if you find yourself asking that question, like, how do I get my people to care as much as I do? Or, man, I just feel like I should be much further along in my business. I'm just telling you that it's leadership. And one final thing I'm going to leave here is, or on the subject of leadership, is this phrase here. The speed of the leader is the speed of the team. If you are someone who takes a long time to make decisions or a long time to put things into action, I'm telling you, your team is going to be slower than you are. The team will not outpace the leader. This is really important. So if you are someone who takes a while to make decisions and you're trying to launch a new product or service, you might need to take someone else who takes the helm on this and say, hey, you know what? I recognize that's a shortfall for me. I'm going to turn this over to you, and you are going to be the champion of this thing. Okay. So that takes some real empowerment. And that's really one of the cruxes of being a good leader. So, hopefully you found that helpful. Okay. Darm Deep is, I shared ownership and delegation. Excellent. Very good. But again, keep in mind, it's not just about that, right? Because you've got other things, but it sounds like you've got the leadership component dialed in. All right. So we talked about the systems component. We talked about the psychology component. Now let's get into the 4 core functions. The 4 core functions of business are true for every business. There's just no getting around this. So when you're looking at the 4 core functions of business, they are lead generation, sales, operations, and accounting. And your customer's journey through your company happens in that order. There's no getting around that. So they are made aware of your business through the lead generation piece. Then they are brought through into the sales function, and then the operational and fulfillment function, and then of course finally the accounting function, where billing and payments and things like that are exchanged. Those are the 4 core functions. So when you're looking at this and you're starting to think about, okay, well, how do we scale this thing given those 4 core functions and given everything else that we have, through the Viper framework? All right, so let's talk about the lead generation piece. Lead generation is where you're targeting your client avatar that you defined way back in your business vision, right? The 3 C's of business vision. Because that client avatar is so well defined, you know exactly who you want to work with. And because you know exactly who you want to work with, it is substantially easier for you to direct your marketing to those individuals because you know their problems, you know their lifestyles, you know what they're interested in, you know their desires. You may even know where they're at. Are they warm traffic? Are they cold traffic? Are they frozen traffic? Are they not even problem aware? Are they problem aware, or maybe they're even solution aware, but they're not you aware? So it depends. If they're problem aware and they're solution aware and they're not you aware, then you just need to lead with the product and say, okay, you know what the problem is. Here's a solution, and we provide that solution. They go, oh yeah, okay. But if they're not even there, then you have to lead with desire. What are you hoping for the outcome to be? Oh, I'd really love to make more money. Okay, cool. Well, I have a solution for that. Let me show you. Okay, so it just depends on where they're at in that framework. The last thing about this client avatar component is you will attract the clients with the most amount of money and bring the least amount of drama. And that's really important. I'm going to put up here the 15 reasons why people buy. I'm going to take myself down so you guys can copy this or take a screenshot. And just a quick thing, I know I didn't say this earlier. Actually, let me bring that down. For those of you who have signed up through Eventbrite, and I know you're going to have to go here soon, some of you have messaged me and said, hey, I can't stay for the full session. I just want to let you know that you will, if you sign up through Eventbrite, you will be getting a copy of this through, we'll be sending that to your email. Or if you want to track me down on YouTube, you can find me there as well. So the replay will be available to you. All right, so let's get back to this one here. The 15 reasons why people buy, these are 15 various reasons why people are going to want to buy. They're going to buy because they make money. They buy to save money, save time, avoid effort, escape pain. They keep in mind it might be escaping physical pain, emotional pain, spiritual pain, whatever. More comfort, better health, and better health can come in the form of less stress. They buy because they want to feel more love. They want to gain praise, and they want to increase their status. They will buy for truth. They will buy for growth. And let me make this point. They'll buy for truth, by the way, if they have felt lied to in the past. That's a really important thing. If they will buy for truth, especially if they have felt lied to in the past. They'll buy for growth, and that might be growth in their knowledge, growth in their wellness, right? Growth in their muscles, maybe, right? They can buy for novelty just because something is new. They'll buy to be in more control or to gain more certainty, and they will buy to be in contribution. So the reason why I'm putting this up there is because you got a little homework to do. I want you to think through the lens of your product or service and all the different ways of how you help people make money. All the different ways of how you help people make money, right? Directly or indirectly. How do you help people make money? And then say you come up with 10 answers there. Great. I want you to come up with as many reasons why people buy, directly or indirectly, how you help people save money. How do you help people save money, directly or indirectly? Come up with as many reasons as you can there. Try to come up with 10. Do the same thing with save effort, avoid time, or avoid effort and escape pain, right? Save time, avoid effort, escape pain. Do it for all 15. And if you come up with 10 under each heading, you now have 150 different reasons why people will buy from you. And this is why it's important. Now, are you going to use all 150 in your marketing? No. You're going to use one in a headline that's going to be compelling, and generally probably the thing that's most compelling towards either their desire or whatever their need is. It depends on where they're at, right? But what I'm saying is this is going to be really important for you to get clear about how you can help people. And that's what I do. I'm just saying that this is a really good exercise to help you just get some creative juices going in terms of all the different ways that you can help people in terms of why they will want to buy your product or service. So that is, when you're coming to lead generation, this is the reason why you want to take that time, is because everything has to support your lead generation function. There's just no getting around that. So, and the truth is this, you can have the best, most efficient business. You can be an absolute paragon of virtue and doing everything right. Your sales technique is so dialed in, you can sell ice to Eskimos and voting booths to Castro, and you can still starve. That's the truth. There's just no getting around that. So you can never, ever, ever, ever take your foot off the gas when it comes to lead generation. You just can't. So I want you to think about that when you're doing your lead generation activities, and if it's you as the solopreneur doing them, look, 60 to 70% of your lead generation activities, 60 to 70% of your total activities need to be around lead generation. And if you don't have, or if you have a lead generation, or like overall in your overall staff, I would still argue that 60, 70% of your total activities need to be around lead generation. You just can't there's just no getting away from that. Got a couple of comments here. Gasson, my company is ranked best company in all around world Crunchbase. Excellent. Good for you. Good for you. That bigger point, my hard work equals success. Excellent. Good for you. There's a pain for me right now is lead generation. Yep. Okay. So, and that is, I'm just telling you, if that's a main pain point for you, then, that's something that you need to, either you need help, right? Cause you may not know, you may not be a lead generation person. That's something I might be able to help you with, but it just depends on what it is that you're trying to accomplish, right? Now, are you trying to, what specifically you're trying to do? There's too much that I can do to coach you on that right now without actually having a specific conversation. But I'm just saying, like, most of your actions and activities need to be around this lead generation function. 60 to 70% of total company activities need to be around that if you're really trying to grow and scale. So the sales component is just simply what continues the conversation started by the lead generation function. And it also understands that effective selling is about finding solutions, not holding people's heads underwater until they say yes. So when you're looking at the operations function, if you're going to get stuck, generally you're going to get stuck in the operations, right? It's like, you're the website maker, you put on roofs, you're a plumber, whatever. Like, generally, if you're going to get stuck, you get stuck in the lead in the operational fulfillment function. And then the last component is the accounting. And generally, if you're going to ignore something, you ignore the accounting. And it's usually something that goes like, well, I've got more money in my bank account this month than last month. I must be doing okay. And please understand, there's no judgment there. Like, I have a degree in accounting and I've said that. So I just want you to know, like, If you're going to ignore something, generally you're going to ignore the accounting, and you can't ignore the accounting. It's just way too important. Now, let me ask you this question. Are these things all the same skill set? Are these things all the same skill set? They're obviously not, right? And the reason why they're not the same skill set is because I mean, listen, lead generation and sales are related, but they're not the same thing. Just like sales and operations and accounting, right? So this is why you're going to need to hire people. You're going to need to bring people into your organization if you hope to grow and scale. And these people are going to be in alignment with your core values. And this is the difference when you're growing by addition versus growing by multiplication. Growing by addition is just hiring a person. They may or may not be in alignment with your core values, right? Maybe they are, maybe they're not. But when you're growing by multiplication, you're bringing people who are in alignment with your core values. They respect your vision for your company and where you're trying to take them. They understand the core purpose of your business. They understand the core values, or I'm sorry, the client avatar that you're most trying to attract. And when you're bringing these people in and you're developing these people as leaders in your organization, now you're growing by multiplication. So if you want to grow your business as fast as possible, bring in others, especially bring in other leaders who can do some pretty special things in your organization. So again, if you're trying to grow, make sure you have the right systems in place, have great leadership, and be a great leader, model great leadership. Your lead generation actions and activities need to be at least 60 to 70% of your actions and activities, and hire and develop great leaders inside your organization. So that is all I have. This is the last component here before we get to the resources section. And again, I asked you this in the beginning, seeking knowledge to understand versus seeking knowledge to take action. So I want to know specifically, what do you plan on taking action on? I've got a couple of things in here to folks who are asking some questions or got some comments. Dharmdeep is coming from a tech background. Okay. Oh, right. Okay. So you're not a lead generation. You're not a salesperson, and that's okay, right? That's recognizing where your background is coming from. Like, I'm working with a SaaS project on another AI platform right now, and that entire tech team is out of Mumbai, right? They're not lead generation people. They're very good at this function that I am just not good at, right? Thank goodness for them. And thank goodness for all the differences. And learning the process. So you're coming back from a tech background and learning the process. Very good. I know I'm a good tech leader, but not very good at selling. And it's not just selling either, Dharmdeep. It's probably not just selling, but also lead generation. Because again, if you had 1,000 leads that came in every day, you wouldn't have to be very good at selling. Because chances are you're going to close at least 10% of them, right? And even if you're horrific at selling, you're still going to land some, right? So I'm just saying, if you have enough leads, and it almost takes care of itself. Almost. You don't want to be inefficient with your leads. But I'm just saying, don't focus on the selling yet until you can actually work on the lead generation. And quite frankly, you probably try to sell like you would buy. And because you're a tech person, you want all the details and the nitty gritty and all these things. That's not how people buy. People buy things because of what it can do for them. People buy things because of what it means to them. They're not buying the car because it's so practical. They're buying the car because of how it makes them feel. Even if that car makes them feel like a cool dude or a cool gal, or it makes them feel comfortable because they know it's a safe vehicle. The meaning, the feeling that evokes, that's what matters. You can't just sell the technical aspects of it. You have to sell the fantasy. Does that make sense? And I know that might sound foreign, especially for a tech person, but coming from an accounting person, I had to really get my head around that. So trust and know, my brother, I am right there with you, but I had to learn that skill set because otherwise I would not be able to grow my businesses. Dharmdeep says no. I'm not sure what that means. Wow. My office in Ahmedabad and I am in North Carolina. Oh, okay. Oh, cool. Okay. Very cool. Dharmdeep is saying, yes, true. Sometimes discussion going into more technical, which clients don't like. They don't like it. You're saying they don't like it initially. They might like it if it's relevant on the back end, but generally they don't really care. You know, they don't care how the food is made as long as the food is delicious, right? I mean, they want to make sure that that it's actual food and not, something disgusting. But my point is, they want to, if it's delicious and they can trust you, they're not going to really care all the technical stuff on the back end. You're saying I am with you. Okay, cool. All right. So really, really good discussion today. Thank you. Man, everybody stuck around today. Holy moly. You guys were on it. Well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to offer you guys, I'm going to put this link in the chat. You guys are more than welcome to join me in our school community. There is no cost to join it right now, and that may change. I'm just letting you know that is, this is where you probably could easily keep in contact with me. Like I said, there's no cost, and just, you get to chat with like-minded business owners who are just like you and me, and we can figure out, if you are interested in having me help you, we can certainly talk about that down the road as well. But that is all I have, everybody. Thank you so very much for sticking around. You guys have been a lot of fun, and my goodness, you guys asked some good questions. So thank you very, very much. I really do appreciate the dialogue. Really, I just get so wound up with this, especially when people are asking really good questions. So thank you all so very much for playing full out today. Thank you all so very much for staying plugged in. If you're watching this on replay, again, go through this, take your notes, and write in there in the comments of what your biggest takeaways are in terms of what you're going to take action on, because that's what really matters. Thanks so much for sticking around. I'll see you guys in the boardroom.